Shalom, family. Welcome to another new moon, new month that Yahweh's allowed for us to have. On this evening, we're going to look at the whole thing of being tempted or tempt. Most of us, if we think back to our younger days, even some people might do it to this day, and think about when somebody dared you to do something, or we dared them to do something, they were actually tempting them to do something that was wrong. 9 times out of 10, you never dared anybody to do anything that was right. We always dared them to do something that was wrong. So you got to think about that time of when you were either the person doing the tempting or being tempted, that in either case, somebody was ruling over the other person. So if you were the person being tempted, when you fell to that person during that point in time, that's who you served. That was your master. That's who you hearken to. Scripture say whoever you hearken to, or you're the servant to that person. So if you're the servant, then they're the master. So we have to consider what we allow as temptations or what we allow ourselves to be tempted by. I know on this graphics we see 4 things. There's many more things I could have put up there. I could have put women up there. I could have put men up there, because we all have different things that are temptations. So let's not just focus on the 4 things up there. Let's focus on ourselves and see what things could bring us to this point. Let's begin tonight in Genesis chapter 12, and we're going to read verses 10 through 20. Genesis chapter 12, verses 10 through 20.
And there was a famine in the land, and Abram went down into Egypt to sojourn there, for the famine was grievous in the land. And it came to pass, when he was come near to enter into Egypt, that he said unto Sarai, his wife, Behold now, I know that thou art a fair woman to look upon. Therefore it shall come to pass, when the Egyptians shall see thee, that they shall say, This is his wife, and they will kill me, but they will save thee alive.
Now, in this day and age, right, this man, first of all, you got to look at the game. He says, hey, I know that you're a fair woman. I know you're beautiful. How many of us take that time out to say that to our wives? This man is saying, hey, I know. So you hear from me. I know you beautiful. You're good to look at. But when we go into these places, these people going to be looking too. So to do me a favor, say you my sister so they don't kill you to get you. But what we do nowadays is we turn around and tempt people with our spouses by letting them leave the house in a certain manner. And then when the temptation then turns up at your door, who's this? I remember how you let him or her go out? You set the temptation out there. He was smart enough to know, hey, man, I know what I see, and I love looking at what I look at, but I need you to help me protect what's mine. So at some point, hey, we got to say, hey, you can't go out the house looking like that. You look fabulous. But all that needs to stay in here. That my eyes only. Go ahead.
Say, I pray thee, thou art my sister, that it may be well with me for thy sake, and my soul shall live because of thee. And it came to pass that when Abram was come into Egypt, the Egyptians beheld the woman, that she was very fair. The princes also of Pharaoh saw her and commanded her before Pharaoh, and the woman was taken into Pharaoh's house. And he entreated Abram well for her sake, and he had sheep and oxen and he-asses and men servants and maidservants and she-asses and camels. And Yahweh plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues before, because of Sarai, Abram's wife. And Pharaoh called Abram and said, What is this that thou hast done unto me? Why didst thou not tell me that she was thy wife? Why sayest thou, She is my sister? I might have taken her to me to wife. Now therefore behold thy wife, take her and go thy way. And Pharaoh commanded his men concerning him, and they sent him away, and his wife, and all that he had.
And this is what we do when we put them out there on display. Makes it seem like you're not with that person. Pharaoh was saying point blank, hey man, if you had acted and presented yourselves as husband and wives, we would have respected that. But that's what we'll do. We'll put the spouse on display and stand back, and then somebody go, then you want to be mad. But you didn't present being together. And a lot of people think that that's funny to watch somebody looking. Okay, what happens when you're around the corner and you're not there to stop whatever temptation you have allowed to be set forth? Let's go to Exodus chapter 20, and we're going to read verses 18 through 21. Exodus chapter 20, and we're going to read verses 18 through 21.
And all the people saw the thunderings and the lightnings and the noise of the trumpet and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, they removed and stood afar off. And they said unto Moshe, Speak thou with us, and we will hear. But let not Elohim speak with us, lest we die. And Moshe said unto the people, Fear not, for Elohim is come to prove you, and that his fear may be before your faces, and ye sin not. And the people stood afar off, and Moshe drew near unto the thick darkness where Elohim was.
Now, do we understand that even in this situation, Yahweh came to prove them? Do we understand that being tempted is a point of being proven? So that temptation is to prove you. He left those nations to prove the children of Israel. So when you're honest with yourself and you see certain things, you say, okay, I know that's a temptation. Sometimes we have to refrain from the areas of temptation so we can get stronger. And there's points in time that you may never be able to go in that area. But first and foremost, we got to be honest with self and honest with the people around us so that they can help in those situations. I've had a situation where I've said, hey, watch this movie to get this out of it. Somebody comes up, man, this movie, man, I saw it this way. And I look, whoa, hold on. I didn't know you had issues in this manner over here. Had you told me you had issues in this manner over here, then I would have not recommended that for you. So a lot of times when we're trying to hide our weaknesses, then we don't allow for brothers and sisters to be able to help us. Because we can easily say, all right, we're going in this area here, my brother, but I think it's best if you stay back. Or my sister, it's best if you stay back. We understand that you have issues concerning this. And then there's some other topics that we might want to discuss and say, you know what, we can't discuss this with this person around because that hits close to home for them. That doesn't mean it's a bad situation that we're talking about. We just understand that this affects this person differently, so it's best if we just not have that conversation. But unless that person tells us, then we don't know. That's where we have to be honest first with self and then with one another. Because being honest with self also means you should be able to fall on your knees and confess before your Elohim what your problems are. It's not that he doesn't know, but confess it with your mouth. That way he knows that you're looking for help. Anybody who has a problem can never say, I used to. No, you will always have that problem. You just put time and space between it that you can get better at dealing with it. My brother, can you read the definition for tempt for me, please?
Tempt, H974, Balkan, a primitive root to test, especially metals, generally, and figuratively to investigate, examine, prove, tempt, try, trial.
Now it says especially metals. What does it say? Precious metals are going to survive the fire. So that's a part of being tempted. But hay and stubble will burn. In the definition, it says especially metals. So then we have to understand that we don't want to be hay or stubble, because you're going to fall right into being tempted. You're going to fail at tempting. Let's go to Judges chapter 3. Judges chapter 3, and we're going to read verses 1 through 7. I mean, we got to look at even the situation of temptation. You know, we understand Yahweh says, do not do your pleasures on my Sabbath. From sundown Friday evening to sundown Saturday night, or if it's a holy day Sabbath. Most of us fail at being tempted. Most of us think we're good because I didn't watch television. But most of us can't put this down for 24 hours. It's so bad that most of us don't own a Bible no more, so the Bible's on this, so we still got this in our hand. Throughout this Sabbath, we'll be all sitting around with the phone in our hand, but feel good because we didn't watch TV. But we stuck on this, watching other stuff on it. Did we really observe the Sabbath? Did we really not do our own pleasure on Yahweh's holy day? Go ahead, my brother.
Now these are the nations which Yahweh left to prove Israel by them, even as many of Israel as had not known all the wars of Canaan, only that the generations of the children of Israel might know, to teach them war, at the least such as before knew nothing thereof, namely, 5 masters of the Philistines, and all the Canaanites, and the Sidonians, and the Hivites that dwelt in the mountain, in the mount of Lebanon, from Mount Baal-Haram unto the entering in of Hamath. And they were to prove Israel by them, to know whether they would hearken unto the commandments of Yahweh, which he commanded their fathers by the hand of Moshe. And the children of Israel dwelt among the Canaanites, Hittites, and Amorites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and Jebusites. And they took their daughters to be their wives, and gave their daughters to their sons, and served their gods. And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of Yahweh, and forgot Yahweh their Elohim, and served Balaam and the groves.
Some temptations Yahweh leaves to prove us, and then there's temptations that we create for ourselves. Do we know the difference? Can we tell the difference? Let's go to Matthew chapter 4. Said he left these nations to prove us, and we're in a place right now, it's a melting pot of no culture. When you look around, everybody comes from somewhere else and drops their culture behind. And even if they're walking in some culture, they're half walking in it. One of the strictest cultures we know is the Muslims, and we'll see the Muslim, she got her head covered, but she got on jeans. If we really examine most of these cultures that have come here, everybody has abandoned their culture. To do what? Even the original people that were here, the so-called Native Americans, had a form of culture before this place was taken over by the Europeans. Yahweh said, I leave these nations here to prove you. We don't even know what we want to be anymore. But the funny thing is, while we don't know what we want to be or who we are supposed to be, we're the ones that everyone's looking to. We're the ones that everybody desires to be like. Go ahead. Matthew chapter 4, verses 1 through 11.
Then was Yeshua led up of the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil. And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was afterward hungered. And when the tempter came to him, he said, If thou be the Son of Elohim, command that these stones be made bread. But he answered and said, It is written, Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of Elohim. Then the devil taketh him up into the holy city, and sitteth him on the pinnacle of the temple, and saith unto him, If thou be the Son of Elohim, cast thyself down, for it is written, He shall give him angels charge concerning thee, and in their hands they shall bear thee up, lest at any time thou dash thy foot against a stone. Yeshua said unto him, It is written again, Thou shalt not tempt the Adonai Elohim. Again the devil taketh him up into an exceedingly high mountain, and showeth him all the kingdoms of the world, and the glory of them, and saith unto him, All these things will I give thee, if thou wilt fall down and worship me. Then saith Yeshua unto him, Get thee hence, Satan, for it is written, Thou shalt worship Yahweh thy Elohim, and him only shalt thou serve. Then the devil leaveth him, and behold, angels came and ministered unto him.
So, like I said earlier, whoever you serve, that is who your master is. So if you fall to the temptations, then Lucifer is who you serve. But look at when Lucifer comes in, when you're at your weakest point. Do we know when we're at the weakest point to avoid certain things in certain areas and even certain people? That's what we have to look at. Once a year, we get to do atonement. During atonement, if you are focused, there are several points of weakness where you want to give up. If we can look back at making it through atonement, when those obstacles and those times come, we can say, hey, you know what? I can get through this too. This should be your quote. This too shall pass. And push on. And at some point, if you need to, you reach for a lifeline. Hey, I need somebody to talk to right now. I'm going through this area, and it's usually not good for me when I go through this area. Can you bear with me a little while? But once again, that means being honest about what your faults are. But we all think that we're strong enough to make it on our own. We can go through it on our own. But the whole point of all of this is Yahweh puts them to prove you. All these things are around to prove you, but he's still there. That's what the whole thing is. He wants us to be able to rely on him and focus back on him. And you can make it through. But if you think that you're so great that you've got it all together, when the fall comes, then what happens? Then you're more ashamed. You don't want to talk to nobody. You don't want to tell anybody anything. You've pulled away. Or then you're looking for help. No, you should have looked for help before you fell to the temptation that you know is able to tempt you. But it means getting over the way we've been raised, a lot of us with pride. I'm not going to tell anybody my business. It's my business. I'll make it through. And like Elder said, a lot of times when you reach the part of ruin, then all of a sudden you realize there's 5 or 6 other people in the room that have been through that and could have helped you out, or have the resources to have helped you. One of my sayings is, it's easier to stay ahead than to catch up. If you pace yourself to stay ahead, It's easier than falling behind and having to try to catch up. It takes more effort to try to catch up. But that's where we also have to be realistic and pace yourselves and don't look at somebody else's race. That's why it says the race is not for the swift, but those who endure. One step at a time, one day at a time. A lot of people say, oh man, I'm living life one day at a time. I don't know other way to live it. I can't live tomorrow. I can't live yesterday. I have to live today. I can prepare for tomorrow. I can reflect on yesterday. But I can't live in either one of those spaces. I can only live in today. Prepare myself for tomorrow. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 14. Isaiah chapter 14, and we're going to read verses 12 through 15.
How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of Elohim. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the grave, to the sides of the pit.
So if we look at the situation with Lucifer, you're talking about a covering cherub who goes from being a covering cherub to being a coveting cherub. He coveted the seat. He created his own temptation. And maybe that's why Yahweh had to give him something else. Hey, I see where this is going. Let me give you a job outside of here, get you away from this for a little while. So sometimes when we see we're around something too much and we can see that, you know what, I'm starting to get some feelings for this thing or this person, and this does not belong to me, you know, maybe I need to pull back and put some space in between me and this thing. That's what Yahweh tried to do. But that space only made him want to rush his job to get back to coveting the seat. He created his own temptation. He stared at the seat too long. So what was it that got him? Was it the power that he saw wheeling from the seat? Or was the seat just that magnificent that he just wanted to sit in it? Because he's seeing all this stuff. He's seeing Yahweh sitting in his chair and commanding from the chair. So was it the power that he saw from the person sitting in the chair that he figured if I sit in the chair, I can have the same power? Or just, hey man, that's a nice seat. I just want to sit in and see what it feels like. Feel what the cloud feels. That's a special type of cloud that it was padded with. We will never know. But whatever it was, caused him to be coveting something that didn't belong to him. Let's go to 2 Samuel chapter 11. Second Samuel chapter 11, and we're going to read verses 1 through 4.
You know what, brother?
Go ahead.
Go on. We watch so many commercials that we forget what they're for.
Right.
The whole purpose of you looking at this thing over and over is for you to slowly begin to desire it.
Yes.
You know, and there may be times when you first see a commercial and you say, oh man, you know, that thing is strange. about the third or fourth time you see that commercial, now you're starting to wonder, well, I wonder what that tastes like.
Right.
I wonder what that looks like. That looks soft. Is that silk? What is that? So the whole design is to get you to look at it enough
Right.
to start the desire. But at what point do you look at this thing and realize, you know what, I've looked at this too much.
long, right.
Because there are times when the commercial might not be on. You might be watching a show, and about that second McDonald's commercial, you thinking, all beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese. Now you can finish the cut. Now, how did that happen? It didn't happen right when the commercial happened. By the time you saying all beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, it ain't on no more. So what happened? It stuck.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't really necessarily feel it when it first got in there.
What is called programming. It's programming you. We think it's a television program. No. It's a people program.
Mm-hmm.
They programming the individuals that's watching to desire whatever they put forth. I mean, even some of these series that we watch, they have us desiring these relationships that are not realistic.
Yep.
That's a great point. Go ahead, my brother.
2 Samuel chapter 11, verses 1 through 4. And it came to pass, after the year was expired, at the time when kings go forth to battle, that David sent Joab and his servants with him, and all Israel, and they destroyed the children of Ammon, and besieged Rehoboth. But David tarried still at Jerusalem. And it came to pass, in the eveningtide, that David arose from off his bed, and walked upon the roof of the king's house. And from the roof he saw a woman washing herself, and the woman was very beautiful to look upon. And David sent and inquired after the woman. And one said, Is not this Bathsheba, the daughter of Elam, and the wife of Uriah the Hittite? And David sent messengers, and took her, and she came in unto him, and he lay with her, for she was purified from her uncleanness, and she returned unto her house.
So, once again, like I stated, Yahweh puts things in the way to tempt you, and then there's things that you put in your own way. From the minute that he inquired and he was told that this is somebody's wife, that should have been the end of it. But what? He kept pursuing. So what happened? That desire is growing more and more and more. Point blank, hey man, that's somebody's wife. All right, man, hey, my bad. Change your thought process and move on. But of course, we understand what we can read eventually where David took this to. We have to be stronger than that. We have to be strong enough to know that, okay, once this is said, that's a bad desire. Or, I already been here before, I know what the outcome is. Let me turn around and leave. But we have to be that strong. We have to be true with ourselves. I mean, even at this situation, David has so many wives that he definitely could have just said, you know what? That's a beautiful woman, and keep it moving. We all have to be able to program ourselves that way, men and women alike. You know what? That's a beautiful, that's a handsome looking brother, and keep it moving. Once you start inquiring and asking all these questions, and now you're digging a pit for yourself that you're going to fall into. Let's go to Numbers chapter 14. Numbers chapter 14, and we're going to read verses 18 through 24.
Yahweh is long-suffering and of great mercy, forgiving lawlessness and transgression, and by no means clearing the guilty, visiting the lawlessness of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation. Pardon, I beseech thee, the lawlessness of this people according unto the greatness of thy mercy, and thou hast forgiven this people from Egypt even unto now. And Yahweh said, I have pardoned according to thy word, but as truly as I live, all the earth shall be filled with the glory of Yahweh, because of those men which have seen my glory and my miracles, which I did in Egypt and in the wilderness, and have tempted me now these 10 times, and have not hearkened to my voice. Surely they shall not see the land which I swear unto their fathers.
Now, we're looking at the beginning of the setup of the nation of Israel. Yahweh says, because of all those men which have seen my glory, my miracles, which I did in Egypt and in the wilderness, and have tempted me now these 10 times, and have not hearkened to my voice, surely they shall not see the land which I swear unto their fathers. Do we understand that there's still a land that was sworn unto our fathers? Can we count how many times we've tempted Yahweh? But yet still feel we're deserving to enter into the land? We didn't see the kind of miracles that they saw, but we've still experienced his glory just with the simple fact that we're all sitting in this room. So let's not just look at them and say that's them. No, we're all in the same boat. We have all benefited from the glory of Yahweh. He allowed us to know his name. He allowed us to be able to be in this part of the body of Yahshua. That alone is a part of the glory of Yah. But do we keep tempting him after we understand that we're not deserving to sit where we're sitting? Go ahead.
Neither shall any of them that provoke me see it, but my servant Caleb, because he had another spirit with him, and hath followed me fully, him will I bring into the land whereinto he went, and his seed shall possess it.
And this is what we're striving for, to have that other spirit so that we can follow him fully. That's the reason for the classes that we continue to have and the conversations that we have, the opportunity to be a part of, to have an elder priest that we can go to gain understanding. So we can have that other heart, that other spirit, as Caleb did. But if we continue to try to walk in the world and in the word, at some point we're going to fail at one of them. We can't succeed at both. So we have to ask ourselves, what is more important, the world or the word? Let's go to Exodus chapter 14. Let's take a look at these 10 times that he's talking about with the children of Israel. See if we can't figure them out. Exodus chapter 14, and we're going to read verses 8 through 6. Yahweh said they've tempted me these 10 times. That means he's keeping score. How many times is he going to pull out on us? Because I'm sure we done passed 10 times. Exodus chapter 14, and start at verse 8, please.
And Yahweh hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and he pursued after the children of Israel. And the children of Israel went out with a high hand, but the Egyptians pursued after them, all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh, and his horsemen, and his army, and overtook them encamping by the sea, beside Pihahiroth, before Baal Ziphoron. All right. And when Pharaoh drew nigh,
Yeah, what he said.
yeah. And when Pharaoh drew nigh, and the children of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians marched after them, and they were sore afraid. And the children of Israel cried out unto Yahweh. And they said unto Moshe, Because there were no graves in Egypt, hast thou taken us away to die in the wilderness? Wherefore hast thou dealt thus with us to carry us forth out of Egypt? Is it not this word that we did tell thee in Egypt, saying, Let us alone, that we may serve the Egyptians? For it has been better for us to serve the Egyptians than that we should die in the wilderness. And ye have seen today, ye shall see them again no more forever. And Yahweh shall fight for you, and you shall hold your peace. Wait, did I skip something?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Verse 13.
Verse 13. Oh, Moshe said unto the people, Fear not, stand still, and see salvation of Yahweh, which he will show to you today. For the Egyptians whom ye have seen today, ye shall see them again no more forever. And Yahweh shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, Wherefore criest thou out unto me? Criest thou unto me? Speak unto the children of Israel, that they go forward.
Now, it's interesting that Yahweh said, Wherefore crieth you unto me? Right? They're saying because they've now reached this roadblock as they think in their head, then they start saying, wasn't it better if we just left? The whole temptation there is that you're trying to prove Yahweh. I dare you to make a way for us to go through. You already seen the miracles that Yahweh did. You saw everything he did. Now to come and think that he can't get you through this? You're tempting him. You're murmuring against him. You really trying to test to see what he can do. Let's go to Exodus chapter 15. So we're looking at one instance where they've tempted him. Yahweh said, you've tempted me these 10 times. Exodus chapter 15 and verses 22 through 25.
So Moshe brought Israel from the Red Sea, and they went out into the wilderness of Shurah. And they went 3 days in the wilderness and found no water. And when they came to Marah, they could not drink of the waters of Marah, for they were bitter. Therefore the name of it was called Marah. And the people murmured against Moshe, saying, What shall we drink? And he cried unto Yahweh. And Yahweh showed him a tree, which when he had cast into the waters were made sweet. There he made for them a statute and an ordinance, and there he proved them.
Once again, they testing Yahweh. So we see the first time they tested him, he parted the Red Sea for them. Now here we come. What shall we drink? He gave him something to drink. We count that as 2. Why do you not think that Yahweh is going to provide for you? But every time they come up is, woe is me. I'm surprised Yahweh didn't say it again to Moshe. Man, why are you crying to me? But who is the one that keeps going to Yahweh to cry out? It's Moshe. So they pushing Moshe to tempt Yahweh's hand. Let's go to Exodus chapter 16 and verses 1 through 8. Like I said, same thing we used to do when we were young. Man, I bet you won't go do this. I bet you, that's basically what they saying to Moshe. I bet you won't go tell Yahweh to provide water for us. I bet you won't go tell Yahweh to make a way for us through this sea. Every time they pushing him to go do it. Go ahead.
And they took their journey from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came unto the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the 2nd month, after their departing out of the land of Egypt. The whole of the congregation of children of Israel murmured against Moshe and Aaron in the wilderness. And the children of Israel said unto them, Would to Elohim we had died by the hand of Yahweh in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pot, and when we did eat bread to the full. For ye have brought us forth into the wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. Then said Yahweh unto Moshe, Behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them whether they will walk in my law or no. It shall come to pass that on the 6th day they shall prepare that which they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. And Moshe and Aaron said unto all the children of Israel, at even, then ye shall know that Yahweh hath brought you out from the land of Egypt. And in the morning, then ye shall see the glory of Yahweh, for he heareth, your murmuring against Yahweh. And what are we that you murmur against us? And Moshe said, this shall be when Yahweh shall give you in the evening flesh to eat, and in the morning bread to the full. For Yahweh heareth your murmuring, which you murmur against him. And what are we? Your murmuring are not against us, but against Yahweh.
And here we go. Now he's tempted to provide food for them. He's provide manna for them. But you see how everything compares to something else? How many of us do that to somebody's in our corner? Man, when I was with old girl, she used to do this for me, boy. I remember them days. Or when I was with him, boy, he used to take me to these places over there. You ticking that person off. But really, why are you not thinking about the fact of how you ticking them off? You're trying to push them to get the results that you're looking for. Isn't that what they were doing to Yahweh? They kept comparing the current situation to the last situation. But yeah, over there you were slaves. Right here you free. Let's go to Exodus chapter 16. We're staying 16. Let's go to verses 16 through 20. So we're looking at the fact that he parted the Red Sea, provided water for them to drink. Now he's giving them bread. That's 3 temptations. These 10 times.
This is the thing which Yahweh hath commanded. Gather of it every man according to his eating, an omer for every man according to the number of your persons. Take ye every man for them which are in his tent. And the children of Israel did so, and gathered, some more, some less. And when they did meet it with an omer, he that gathered much had nothing over, and he that gathered little had no lack. They gathered every man according to his eating. And Moshe said, let no man leave of it to the morning. Notwithstanding, they hearkened not unto Moshe, but some of them left of it unto the morning, and it bred worms and stank, and Moshe was wroth with them.
So you got to think about present day. If you got a child and you tell your children, no eating in the room, and all of a sudden one day you go in the room and there you find a plate and there's green stuff on it. Aren't you going to be angry? It's the same situation. Yahweh say don't leave anything of it, because he already knew what the outcome was going to be. But being disobedient, once again, here we go, failing at something simple. Simple as just don't leave anything behind. But we're that gluttonous type of people that we always want to have more than what we can eat. What they say, your eyeballs is bigger than your stomach. And this country provides that way even more with having these all-you-can-eat buffets. We'll put stuff on our plate that we know we don't eat, just because it's all you can eat. Let's read verses 23 through 30. Exodus chapter 16, verses 23.
And he said unto them, this is that which Yahweh hath said. Tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath unto Yahweh. Bake that which ye have baked today, and see that ye will seethe, and that which remaineth overlay up for you to be kept unto the morning. And they laid it up to the morning, as Moshe bade, and it did not stink, neither was there any worms therein. And Moshe said, Eat that today, for today is a Sabbath unto Yahweh. Today ye shall not find it in the field. 6 days ye shall gather it, but on the seventh day, which is the Sabbath, there shall be none.
And there shall be none.
Oh, okay. And it came to pass that there went out some of the people on the seventh day for to gather, and they found none. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, How long refuse ye to keep my commandments and my laws? See that Yahweh hath given you the Sabbath, therefore he giveth you on the 6th day the bread of 2 days. Abide ye every man in his place. Let no man go out of his place on the 7th day. So the people rested on the 7th day.
You know, something simple as the 7th day, the Shabbat, like I mentioned earlier, how well do we rest on the Shabbat day and not do our own things? You know, I was listening to a podcast where this guy was interviewing these two sisters, and they were talking about the fact that they were raised observing the Sabbath. You know, one said 6 o'clock, the other one said from sundown Friday evening to sundown on Saturday. Now they're all career women and have their careers. And they both sat there and said, you know, we truly had an opportunity to rest. We truly got to rest. And one goes, you know what? I think I need to implement that again. We have to be honest with the fact that if we did not come into the Shabbat, most of us would work 7 days a week. But look at how merciful Yahweh is that he allowed for us to have this one day that rest for us to enjoy in the day that he rested. But we still can't fully take part in that day because we've got all these distractions, all these things tempting us that we can't fully rest on the Shabbat. We have to figure out how to remove the distractions. A lot of times we can't even really enjoy each other's company on the Shabbat because you're trying to talk to somebody and they got the phone in their face, looking at it, and they looking up at you in between. Oh yeah, what? So how much of a rest and enjoyment is it for you and the rest of the people around you? We've got to look at the simple temptations, and then we are supposed to be an example to the younger ones. How can we talk to the children about these things if we're not good examples? We know they're children, but do we even try to let them go a little bit and say, all right, give me 2 hours without messing with this. Give me 3 hours on the Shabbat without messing with this. So that way, practice becomes perfect. Let's go to Exodus chapter 17. Exodus chapter 17, and we're going to read verses 1 through 7. If we look at it, so we see the parting of the Red Sea, water to drink, bread from heaven, them not obeying and leaving food over, tempting Yahweh, and those who went out on the Shabbat to gather sticks. Exodus chapter 17, verses 1 through 7, because, you know, the thing about it is, it's recently been said, line upon line, precept upon precept. So let's go a little bit of line upon line. You know, like I said, Yahweh said these 10 times. So let's not guess about the 10 times. Let's see if we, together, can go through the 10 times. Go ahead.
And all the congregation of the children of Israel journeyed from the wilderness of sin after their journeys, according to the commandment of Yahweh, and pitched in Rephidim. And there was no water for the people to drink. Wherefore the people did chide with Moshe, and said, Give us water that we may drink. And Moshe said unto them, Why chide ye with me? Wherefore do ye tempt Yahweh? And the people thirst there for water. And the people murmured against Moshe and said, Wherefore is this that thou hast brought us up out of Egypt to kill us and our children and our cattle with thirst? And Moshe cried unto Yahweh, saying, What shall I do unto the people? They be almost ready to stone me. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, Go on before the people, and take with thee of the elders of Israel, and thy rod with there. Thou smitest the river, take in thy hand, and go. Behold, I will stand before thee therefore there unto the rock, upon the rock of Herod.
The rock in Horeb.
Horeb. And thou shalt smite the rock, and there shall come water out of it, that the people may drink. And Moshe did so in the sight of the elders of Israel.
So at this point, Moshe understands one thing. You're not chiding with me. You tempting Yahweh. All these things that y'all doing, even though you coming at me, is Yahweh you tempting. Do we look at what we're doing and the things that we get off into and how we may be tempting Yahweh to either come and save us or protect us in predicaments that we put ourselves in? So at this point, we're up to temptation number 7. Let's go to Numbers chapter 10. And we're going to read start at verse 33 and go to 11 and 3. That is Numbers chapter 10. Numbers chapter 10, start at verse 33.
And they departed from the mount of Yahweh 3 days' journey, and the ark of the covenant of Yahweh went before them in the 3 days' journey to search out a resting place for them. And the cloud of Yahweh was upon them by day, and when they went out of the camp, and it came to pass, when the ark set forward, that Moshe said, Rise up, Yahweh, and let thine enemies be scattered, and let them that hate thee flee before thee. And when it rested, he said, Return, O Yahweh, unto the many thousands of Israel.
Continue.
And when the people complained, it displeased Yahweh, and Yahweh heard it, and his anger was kindled. And the fire of Yahweh burnt among them and consumed them that were in the uttermost part of the camp. And the people cried unto Moshe. And Moshe prayed unto Yahweh, the fire was quenched. And he called the name of the place Tibra, because the fire of Yahweh burnt among them. Continue? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the mixed multitude that was among them fell a-lusting. And the children of Israel also wept again and said, Who shall give us flesh to eat?
So in verse 4, I went down to verse 4, and the mixed multitude that was among them fell a-lusting. So we allowed other people and what they desired to make us tempt our Elohim and pleasing them. So they made it seem desirable that we want this too. But we know that y'all have power with him. Because they couldn't get it on their own if they complained and they murmured. They weren't going to get nothing. So they knew who had the power with Elohim for them to receive what they want. Same as when you got to think about our captivity here. This became a superpower. Why? Because the children of Israel are here. But then guess what? They made us desire Miss America's pie. So we've tempted Yahweh in many different ways, trying to get a hold of Miss America's pie. You got to even think what's even worse about this whole situation. You've got the Ark of Elohim right there with you. but you still murmuring and complaining. All right, let's go to chapter 11. Chapter 11, and we're going to read from verses 4 to 10.
Want me to start at verse 5 then?
Yeah, you can start back at verse 4. That's fine.
All right. And the mixed multitude that was among them fell a-lusting, and the children of Israel also wept again, and said, Who shall give us flesh to eat? We remember the fish, which we did eat in Egypt freely, the cucumbers, the melons, and the leeks, and the onions, and the garlic. But now our soul is dried away. There is nothing at all, besides this manna before our eyes. And the manna was as coriander seed, and the color thereof as the color of bdellium. And the people went about, and gathered it, and ground it in mills, or beat it in a mortar, and baked it in pans, and made cakes of it. And the taste of it was as the taste of fresh oil. And when the dew fell upon the camp in the night, the manna fell upon it. Then Moshe heard the people weep throughout their families, every man in the door of his tent, and the anger of Yahweh was kindled greatly. Moshe also was displeased.
You know, you look at it, they took something and made what they thought was nothing and made something out of it. This has always been our people. We've always made something out of nothing. But why complain while you're doing it? Come on, man. Most of us can think about our upbringing and the meals that has been prepared out of nothing. We've always been those creative people. But you can't be complaining while you have a substance that you can make into something else. Just be happy for the little that you do have. When I used to be at work, there's these days I take tuna with me. And I've had people, man, what you eating today? Tuna? Tuna again? I say, yeah. I say, the problem is you don't understand that tuna can be fixed in many different ways. How do you fix tuna? I put mayonnaise in. I say, see? You just do the mayonnaise and the egg and you do that. I say, brother, I'll take tuna and I will smash my tuna up and I might put jerk seasoning in it and season it a different way. Because I'm having tuna, that don't mean it tastes the same as it did yesterday. I might take my tuna and put some sweet and sour sriracha sauce on it. It's just like any other meat. So where you going tuna again, it's not the same flavor again. We got to be content with what we have. We're that diverse of a people. We're that creative of a people. But instead of tapping into the creativity, what we keep doing is tempting Yahweh to get our own way, which is not good. You tell me when you ever heard somebody being tempted and it was being tempted to do something good. I ain't never heard nobody say, man, you know what? I was tempted to go do a good deed for that person, but I changed my mind. Have you ever heard it? I never heard anybody say they was tempted to do something good. You're always tempted to do something bad. So we just got to always be able to fight the temptations. All right, where are we at, brother? Let's go to Numbers 11. That's where we just got through?
Yeah.
All right, Numbers 14. Numbers chapter 14, and we're going to read verses 1 through 12.
And all the congregation lifted up their voice and cried, and the people wept that night. And all the children of Israel murmured against Moshe and against Aaron. And the whole congregation said unto them, Would Elohim that we had died in the land of Egypt, or would Elohim we had died in this wilderness? And wherefore hath Yahweh brought us unto this land, to fall by the sword, that our wives and our children should be a prey? Were it not better for us to return to Egypt?
So
into
every
Egypt?
time they keep saying this, why he brought us out here, basically you say, man, Yahweh don't know what he doing. He should just left us alone where we were at. So what you doing? You tempting Yahweh to keep showing you that, bro, I got this. He keeps having to prove to them that he knows what he's doing. Are we putting him in those situations by the foolishness that we do? By the situations that we put ourselves into? Look, man, I cleaned you up. I brought you out. I brought you into the shepherd's tent. Why you keep going back over here in the mud? So you trying to tell me I didn't know what I was doing when I took you up out of the mud and brought you to the shepherd's tent? You know best. That's what we do every time we go back to the mud. But sooner or later, he's just going to leave you in the mud. And then you're going to go, woe is me, this ain't fair. Why you ain't come and get me? Let me see, I came and got you the last 10 times. Go ahead.
Verse 4. And they said one to another, let us make a captain, and let us return into Egypt. Then Moshe and Aaron fell on their faces before all the assembly of the congregation of the children of Israel. And Joshua, the son of Nun, and Caleb, the son of Yephani, which were of them that searched the land, rent their clothes. And they spake unto all the company of the children of Israel, saying, the land which we passed through to search it is exceedingly good land. If Yahweh delight in us, then he will bring us into this land, and give it us, and a land which floweth with milk and honey. Only rebel not against Yahweh, neither fear you the people of the land, for they are bread for us. Their defense is departed from them, and Yahweh is with us. Fear them not. But all the congregation bade stones with them with stones. And the glory of Yahweh appeared in the tabernacle of the congregation before all the children of Israel. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, how long will this people provoke me? And how long will it be ere they believe me for all the signs which I have showed among them?
And this is the whole point. How long? How long will you provoke Yahweh? From all that he's doing, how long you going to keep provoking him before he says enough is enough and lets you go? We cannot continue to think that we're just going to keep tempting him and he's going to keep putting up with us. You wouldn't do it. At some point, person keeps pushing your buttons and pushing your button. At some point, you either go knock them out or you're going to walk away from that situation and never deal with them no more. Because you have become a vexation of spirit. So do we want to push him to the point where he's going to knock us out? I mean, if you get knocked out, you might get back up and he might knock some senses into you, but I think the worst part is if he walks away from you. But how long? So if we go back and we look at all these situations, we can add up. Those are 10 times that the children of Israel have provoked Yahweh and kept tempting him over and over as if he didn't know what he was doing. And it's like when we tempt Mikael and he had to, man, what you doing? You know what you doing? Why are you putting that piece of wood on top of that? I mean, I ask them questions and I get that look, boy, if you don't leave me alone. But that's my brother. A lot of times he know I'm just messing with him. But we can't do that with Yahweh. Our job is to obey and serve. We have to understand the role of a servant. If you on your job and you keep doing things the way you want to do it, how long are you going to stick around? If the boss provides tools for you and you keep going, hey man, you know Milwaukee makes better tools than this, right? Why we ain't got some Milwaukee in here? Then you're going to be walking yourself out the door. Eventually, that's what they going to say. You love Milwaukee? Walk your way up out of here. We got to be realistic. Yes, we don't see Yahweh before us, but he is still our master, our boss. Let's give him the respect that he deserves. Just like we do with these natural men who are over us. You got to remember, the man that you have respect for, that's over you, Yahweh's over that man. I've heard a saying, so who made the man that you said is great? Isn't that man greater than the man that you say is great if somebody else made him? Can you read the definition there for me there?
Tempt, G1598, Ikpirazo, I'm assuming, from G1537 and G3985, to test thoroughly, tempt.
So isn't that what we did? We were thoroughly testing Yahweh, tempting him in every manner, shape, form. Can you part this Red Sea so we can have a way for these Egyptians kill us? Can you provide water for us? Can you provide food for us? Can you really give us this land that you said that you're going to give us? Every single angle, every single direction, we tested him. It says in the definition to test thoroughly, tempt. For something to be tested thoroughly, that means it is put through every possible scenario to find where it can be compromised, or better yet, its failing point. Job is a perfect example of being tested thoroughly. He was tested in body, mind, and spirit, because Yahweh knew there was still some improvement that could be made. Job later confessed, I've heard of you by the hearing of the air, but now my eyes see you. So he went from just hearing to seeing. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 10, and we're going to read verses 1 through 13. This will be the last scripture that we'll do tonight. 1 Corinthians chapter 10.
Moreover, brethren, I would not that ye should be ignorant, how that all our fathers were under the cloud, and all passed through the sea, and were all baptized unto Moshe in the cloud and in the sea, and did all eat the same spiritual meat, and did all drink the same spiritual drink, for they drank of that spiritual rock that that followed them, and that rock was the Anointed One. But with many of them Elohim was not well pleased, for they were overthrown in the wilderness.
So we're in the New Testament, right? Let's go back to verse 4. And did all drink the same spiritual drink, for they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Yahshua. So when you want to go and say, well, where's Christ in the Old Testament? Well, let me see. I'm in the New Testament and it just mentioned that Christ was in the Old Testament. Go ahead.
Now these things were our examples, to the intent we should not lust after evil things, as they also lusted.
So go ahead and mark all of those things that we just went through. Now these were our examples, to the intent we should not lust after evil things as they also lusted. We've got examples of temptations and how they tempted Yahweh. But they didn't have examples. It's telling us that they were our examples. So we have no excuse. We have examples. They didn't. Go ahead.
Neither be ye idolaters, as were some of them, as it is written. The people sat down to eat and drink, and rose up to play. Neither let us commit fornication, as some of them committed, and fell in one day 330,000.
20.
20,000. Neither let us tempt the anointed one, as some of them also tempted, and were destroyed of serpents. Neither murmur ye, as some of them also murmured, and were destroyed of the destroyer. Now all these things happen unto them for in samples, and they are written for our admonition, upon whom the ends of the world are come.
So here again, he's explaining it once again. Now all these things happen unto them for examples, and they are written for our admonition. That means we can go back and reflect on these things to be better than them. Yahweh allowed the writings to be done for what? For us. Go ahead.
Wherefore, let him that thinketh he standeth take heed, lest he fall. There hath no temptation taken you, but such as in common to man.
As is common.
That is common to man. But Elohim is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it.
So it says that, verse 13, there has no temptation taken you but such as common to man. Common to man. But yet, angels procreated with man. So what about the angels' temptation? Wouldn't that be in the offseed of the... So some offspring should be tempted to want to sit on the throne of Elohim? But Elohim is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that you are able. But then ask yourself, is the temptation of Yahweh, or did you create your own temptation? Now, if you created your own temptation, did you go past what you're able? But here's the good thing. But will with the temptation also make a way to escape. So if you trust in Yahweh and put your faith in Him, He will allow you to be able to escape your temptation. But you got to be honest with yourself to understand what your temptations are. That way of escape might be a brother or a sister. But that's something that we can look forward to. Understanding He provides a way to escape the temptation, that you may be able to bear it. Second Peter chapter 2 and 9 states that Adonai knows how to deliver the godly out of temptations, and to reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment to be punished. So are we striving to be delivered when tempted, or will we be of those who are reserved for punishment? Evaluate yourselves, Israel. That's all we're going to do for this evening. Shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom.